Well, hello. Thank you for joining us. It's another edition of To Hell and Back. I think this is what, the sixth or seventh
Episode 7.
episode 7. Okay.
Attack of the Clones.
Clone drugs.
No, I got some clones. I got some Kush clones.
Kush, nice.
Attack of the Kush clones. They're taking over.
A good choice.
What I'm doing right now is everybody needs to do that. Who's on this right now? Tag us, share it, tweet it, get it out there. Not now. And let everybody know. It's a very important episode today. It's an intriguing episode. It's an interesting episode. Because we're talking about solutions, right?
Right.
We've talked all this stuff. I am Pastor Jardula, as you know, from the Convo Couch with my co-host, an awesome person, Chanda, Masta, the not so accidental activist for me. You know what I'm saying? Doing this show was just amazing. I didn't want to miss it this week. So how you doing there, Chanda?
Well, I thank you. I'm great. Thank you so much for joining us out on your adventures. I know it's a little bit difficult, but you got a little bit of assistance from a friend. So thank you to that friend.
Yes, thank you to that friend. They can see. I can't hide the chair. The chair is not green. And everybody already saw it was on Nico House's show today. I am in the Nico House studios. So yeah, I am live on the East Coast, not the least coast. But yeah, Chanda, I didn't want to miss the show at all, man. I've been like waiting to do the show for a while, because I have so many friends, especially my new friends, many people in the business that take Kratom, right? And we talk about all these things. We talk about going to North Georgia, meeting these young ladies who got this opioid addiction, and they use methadone, right, to get off the opium, and that's what was prescribed to them by their doctors, both the opium and then the methadone. And, you hear about the whole battle then with the addiction for methadone and trying to get off that addiction, and the craziness inside and outside the court system. So what is the real solution? What is the real thing, right? I have friends who took Adderall, and they take the same thing right now. This is the solution, Kratom, which you're going to explain to us today. I mean, would you say it's the solution from your experiences?
I think if with the right scientific insight and study of this, it very well could be, but we know that big pharma always has malice intents. The bottom line is always greed. The bottom line is always the bottom line. And, in its raw form as it is right now, I think those that are battling serious addiction should look into this. I really don't think that it should be marketed for, multiple different cures like you see.
That is a problem. We'll get into it, because always when it comes to any type of herb or sedative or, any drug, the image, right? What everybody thinks about it. That's really important, because that will really drive a lot of policy depending on how people look at it. I always talked, I play high lie, right? And it's one of the greatest sports in the world. It's got the wicker basket with the small ball. It's the sport of kings is what they called it.
Right.
It originated in the Basque regions of France and Spain. At one point, they were trying to make it Olympic sport. However, Vegas had took it in the late 60s, right? And they had gambling on it. And then South Florida and Connecticut did it. And it was just the horse racing, a dog track. You had 1 through 8 players or 1 through 8 teams, and they would complete and play the game, and you would bet on it. So even though it's an amazing sport and it's so awesome to play, I mean, I played it on a pro-am level for many years. It's magical. It's like art, the way you catch the ball, the way you throw the ball, the way the ball is made, the uniforms that are worn from the traditional times. It's an amazing sport. But to try to get it on a collegiate level and to introduce it into colleges, like they try to introduce it to the College of Boca Raton, they turned it down. The Olympics, they turned it down. Why? Because it had this stigma that you used to bet on it. You used to, and when you bet on stuff, the Vegas days, they said, no. They don't want to go near those things. Same thing with Kratom, right? Where it was marketed, where it was sold, how it was sold, what it was marketed.
It goes back to history. It goes back to history. And I really didn't bring the history of Kratom, but just a quick rundown. It grows in Southeast Asia, and we'll cover all of that. but Thailand had they were part of the opiate wars, the opium wars, right? And
Hmm.
so they had a huge proportion of their population that was addicted to opiates, in the early, 20th century. And they had a tax on that opium. And so they were making money off of it. Well, when the natives learned that, hey, just take kratom instead, they chew it like a kava or a cocoa leaf. Um, then it became illegal. So, and that's really where a lot of the American stigmatism against kratom came from, is how it was perceived in Thailand in the 30s and 40s.
By the way, I realized I had the camera on the wrong side. When I look at you like this, does that look okay? Because I was looking the other way and not looking at you and stuff. So
I'm always looking the wrong way.
I always think, what's the audience? Like, I don't want the audience to be distracted. Like, why isn't he looking at her when she's speaking? She's saying some great stuff. I always listen to Chanda Masta, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I mean, interesting points. That little brief talk about where it came from, Southeast Asia, how people used to kind of chew on it. It's kind of reminiscent thinking about like the cocoa days, right? Putting the cocaine on the gums and whatnot, but then it spins and it gets out of control. And yeah. So what do we got? What's our first video for today?
Okay, so this is just an opening of an addict and finding kratom, and really that's kind of the focus on this for me today, because kratom saved my life. But I don't advocate anybody take kratom unless you are battling for your life like I was.
But a lot of people are, right? And
right.
I mean, I'm going to ask some questions today that, we'll just get the average person. Maybe there's people who's on that kind of fence, Chanda, thinking, is kratom right for me and stuff. There's not a lot of doctors out there or scientists talking about it. We need to rely on people like yourself who, like you said, it saved your life. But once again, it might not be for them. So fun show today. Can't wait to get it done.
I was addicted to pain pills. I was using heroin at the time. I was getting on Google every single day looking for a way to get clean. And I remember starting to have tremors and seizures. Within 10 minutes of buying the product, I mixed it in orange juice and I stopped shaking, I stopped seizing, I stopped dry heaving. I wasn't withdrawing anymore. I was convinced since then that this was a lot bigger. Basically taking the FDA and the DEA's public safety concerns and kind of breaking them down into, why are they saying that this is illegal? Why are they saying this isn't?
So I really related to that because I was the same way. I remember thinking, when I was in deep in the throes of my addiction, there's got to be something out there that, at that point I had taken a lot of different Chinese herbs and stuff. So I started talking to the botanical stores and the herb store owners, of what could I take? Because at that point I was in DT so much and so often, because I could not keep up with my habit, that I would try to treat symptoms. Like, okay, how do I treat my sleeplessness? How do I treat my shaking? How do I treat my, my stomach problems? And so I heard about kratom on a news report in the middle of the night. And I did very much like she did. I started researching online anything I could about kratom and talking to anybody who knew anything about it, because at the time nobody knew about it. I got on kratom in 2014, but I had learned about it in 2013. And it took me about a year to really phase off of pills and onto kratom. But the information that I did find, you had to go deep into medical files. That's the only place I could find studies on kratom at the time. And a lot of pseudoscience, of course, just propaganda shit that's being pumped out there. And we're going to get into that. That's got much worse, depending on what political party's been in power over the last couple of years.
I have a question. What was it like the first night you took kratom, and how did you take it? She said the first time she did it, put it in some OJ, stop shaking. Was a person who had a desire to get clean, to get off the dependencies of opioids and whatnot. What was your first night in experience like?
That's funny, because I was just talking to my mom about this the other day. She's like, I tried kratom. It didn't do anything for me. Um, Kratom is in the coffee and tea family. So it is powerful, but it is not like it. There's no cases of anybody ever overdosing. They say the amount of kratom you would have to ingest to have toxicity is physically impossible because your body would reject it and throw it up. It's kind of the same thing with marijuana, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't stone
It's
yourself
like when
to
somebody takes
death,
a bad
right?
edible, right?
Right. You're eventually
Oh,
just gonna get over it. You want to puke, you're spinning, that type of thing. But your body, there's no way you can actually overdose. Now, there's a lot of science that says you can mix it with stuff, and yeah, it will contribute. But I don't even buy that. But that's what the pseudoscience is out there. But
yeah.
you have to be. I was very very deep into withdrawals, like 3 or 4 days of no opiates, and you're shaken and you haven't slept and you can't control your body temperature. That's always one of my biggest problems. I'm hot, cold, chills, and so to take it then, and I do just like she does. We call it wash and toss. You just throw it in some orange juice. I take it with chocolate milk nowadays because it just goes down a little smoother. But and I drank it, and within 5 or 10 minutes, I remember thinking, oh my God. And I just cried. I cried and I thanked God because I knew from that day forward, I never had to be sick again. I would be able to go to a store as long as I had money. I was going to be able to stay well, which wasn't the way it had been for many years. I had to jump through all the hoops of doctors and pharmacies and money and insurance companies. And I just remember this huge, like, hallelujah. Oh my God. Thank you. You saved me. And really,
Yeah.
that I swear to God, I had that moment. I'll
What were
never
you
have to be
taking then
sick
at that
again.
time? What pills?
Whew. So I'd been kicked off my scripts, but at that point I had been taking 110 milligrams of methadone a day, 110 milligrams of Percocets a day. And then of course I would get my allotment of Ambien, lorazepam, whatever psych drugs they thought I needed to be on, at that point, Lexapro, Risperidone. I was on pretty much anything they could prescribe you, Lyrica, and Somas. So, I mean, with that kind of combination, I was just fucked up out of my mind 24/7. And I was a highly functioning fucked up person.
Yeah.
I always prided myself on that. But trying to come off of that, that's where your fault is. I was superwoman as long as I had my meds. And
I hear you.
as soon as I didn't, that's when life came crashing down around me. Couldn't go to work, couldn't take care of my kids, my house,
So
life
it's
in
like
general.
it's like you take opiates to get rid of pain, you take methadone to get rid of opiates, and then you take
Yep.
kratom to get rid of it all.
Well, my doctor just jumped. No, he gave me pain pills. He gave me Vicodin and then Percocet, but
Yeah,
then he
yeah.
jumped me to methadone because now landed in that chronic pain category, right? Like, oh, well, you've been in here for more than a year getting medication, so you're chronic pain, and we're now treating chronic pain with methadone. Was really the approach.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was handed that. But yeah, but for people, so the difference between me being in total withdrawals and then taking kratom and finding relief to somebody who doesn't use recreational drugs or pills on the very often, um,
Yeah.
I'll talk to teenagers. They'll be like, oh yeah, I took kratom, and yeah, it gave me good body buzz. I could dance all night, that type of thing. Oh, I could hear the music really well, get into it. But a lot of people say, oh, it didn't do anything for me. It's like drinking a cup of coffee. I just went to bed. So I think the difference is what receptors that it's hitting and the neural pathways of the way it's being delivered, because kratom doesn't react with your pleasure reward centers like opiates and pills do. And so because it's a different way that it's affecting you, you're not getting that high. So a lot of people just like, no, I don't like it. I don't get high.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Oh,
So this is, what is kratom? Why is kratom being used for opiate self-detox? Kratom is a plant-based drug from Southeast Asia, particularly Thailand, and it's typically brewed as a tea.
so it's
So
vegan. It's vegan.
oh yeah, it's complete vegan.
Plant-based.
It's plant-based. So though Thai people have been chewing kratom leaves or sipping it in their tea for at least 200 years, it was outlawed by the government during the Greater East Asia War in 1943. In the last 10 years, kratom has made its way into the United States, sold mostly in gas stations or tobacco shops or head
That's what I'm
shops.
saying.
or even in some juice
That's what I'm
bars.
saying.
And yeah,
Like
the
I saw
first
it in
time I
gas
bought it,
stations.
I had to buy it in a porn shop the first time I bought it because I kept hearing about it and I looked everywhere in my community. I couldn't, the only place that had it was our local porn shop. So I would have to go in there with all the dildos and the weirdos and buy my kratom every day till I learned how to order it online. And I paid a lot more. See, that's a problem. And so the thing about kratom is very light sensitive. Because it has active alkaloids in it. And so if you leave it in the light or its packaging, it allows light to enter, penetrate it. It loses
Potency.
its potency. It doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah. And so when you buy this gas station kratom is being shipped in, they say not from Thailand, but yeah, it does come in through Thailand. But
Yeah.
a lot of the East Asian, Indonesia, Bali, those places. And it'll come in and it'll be sitting for 3 or 4 years while it's getting, it's in some warehouse and somebody's packing it up and they send it out to these gas stations. So by the time you're buying it in one of these gas stations, this potency is pretty much gone. I've had stuff where it's completely bunk. I'm just like, oh, this was
Can
old.
people grow it like they grow marijuana? Is that like happening right now? Like, I got
Yes.
this
Well, see, and
beautiful
that's the
kratom
thing.
tree.
People in Florida have been trying to grow it, and in Canada, they're growing it in warehouses, big, huge. The Canadian government's growing it. Imagine that. But in Southeast Asia, it's the poor farmers that grow it. It's a native tree. It's like an alder tree or a oak tree or something in America that's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
And so it's all in their backyards and stuff, and they'll cut the leaves down. And I mean, I've talked to so many of these farmers. They reach out to you once they know you're an American and you're interested in kratom, but they'll dry them on their floor and in their houses and their lean-tos, and then they grind it all up and they seal it up. They zip seal it, whatever, and then they ship it over to America. And some countries are punishing these guys if they get caught for it. I mean, like I think in Thailand, it's death if you get caught doing this.
Of course. Is it the leaf or is it like buds like
It's
marijuana?
leaves.
It's leaves.
It's leaves.
So it's the actual leaves.
Yeah.
Which makes it easier for like people. They don't have to really necessarily deal with the whole kind of like bud situation to grow it.
Right.
Probably be easier to grow and
But they
easier
grow
to
really
manage
tall.
and make than marijuana.
Right. No, it is. But they grow really tall. They grow like 30 or 40 feet. So you got this massive tree to deal with, to get the leaves off of it. Let's see. Next slide. Kratom is it's an evergreen tree in the coffee species. So like I said, it's in the coffee and tea. It grows in Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Papua New Guinea. The leaves from the kratom plant may be used to numb aches and pains, soothe fevers, treat diarrhea, manage diabetes, and alleviate addiction. They have also been applied to puncture wounds, to spread across the abdomen, to drive out worms. It is a substance that has been used in traditional medicine practices since the 19th century. So, like coffee, kratom works as a stimulant in small doses and gives you a slight buzz, like a caffeine hit. But larger doses of kratom can be more sedating. Kratom leaves are made of two different compounds. I never can say these names right, and you'll hear them further down in the videos. It's metatrain.
Wow, I would have said mitragynine. So I'm glad you said metatrain. So
and hydroxy
that one.
Yeah. Those are the two active ingredients in kratom. So 60% of the alkaloid in the plant are MGs, the less addictive compounds, and only 2% of the 7 HDMs that are addictive. So really, there's a small, tiny amount that's actually addictive in the plant, much like coffee. So while these organic compounds are not true opioids, humans and animal studies had demonstrated their effectiveness to relieve pain, and that came from Psychological Today.
The great part about that is, once again, just kind of talking about the only 2%, are the addictive compound. That is something right there. If America cared, if the West cared, if the doctors really cared, more on part of big pharma, they would go with more substances and herbs like kratom.
Right, but we know big pharma's approach to everything. It's conquer everything, play God. and that's what they're doing. Um, I don't know what this video is, but I'm sure it's important.
Let's go. How do you say that word again?
Mediterranean.
That's it.
Mediterranean.
Stimulant effects are generally shorter lasting and appear with lower doses, whereas high doses bring about a longer lasting depressant effect. Different effects have long been connected to various types of kratom. Red veins, green veins, and white veins all have their own potential effect profile. There's not much research in this area, so it's not clear how real the differences are. If there are differences, people claim white vein is more stimulating, red vein is more sedating, and green vein is a mix. Orally, the drug lasts for 2 to 4 hours and begins working in 15 to 20 minutes. Some hangover or afterglow effects can exist for up to 6 hours. Kratom contains a number of active drugs which likely contribute to its overall effects, and different drugs may be responsible for the stimulant versus depressant actions. Two of the primary drugs are mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine, both of which function as opioid agonists. Mu, delta, and kappa opioid receptors are involved. 5-HT2A antagonism and alpha-2 adrenergic receptor agonism could be playing a role, but kratom's pharmacology is far from completely understood. There's also evidence suggesting adenosine antagonism and calcium channel blocking may be important. One of kratom's drugs, rincophylline, operates as an NMDA antagonist and calcium channel blocker. Other potentially important drugs, like mitraphyline, need to be investigated further. At this point, the most important actions seem to come from opioid agonism and potentially A2 agonism, serotonin antagonism, and adenosine antagonism. I can see how those actions could result in stimulation or sedation depending on the dose used. The plant was first described by Peter Corthals, a Dutch botanist, in 1839. It's been used in Thailand and surrounding countries for centuries, generally for work reasons, recreationally, and as an anti-diarrhea substance. In the 1800s, reports of its role as an opium substitute appeared in Malaysia, and it was even used to replace amphetamines by some people in Thailand in the 1900s. A report in 1930 discussed how it could be used to combat opioid withdrawal, and its own withdrawal symptoms have been in the literature since the mid-1900s. In 1921, Ellen Field isolated mitragynine, which has long been viewed as the most important chemical in the plant. 7-hydroxymitragynine, which is also now viewed as important despite being present in smaller amounts, was identified in 1993. Research on mitragynine in the 1960s and 1970s was fueled by a desire to find alternative pain relievers. Compared to some opioids, like codeine, it was found to have a useful effect profile. One of the most common uses of kratom has been in physical work settings. It is said to help people deal with the heat and carry out difficult physical work. In this regard, it can be compared to coca in South America. It's been combined with various other drugs, including the areca nut, codeine, dextromethorphan, and antihistamines. Kratom is now used globally and is sold online and in stores. Much of it comes from Indonesia since it isn't controlled there. There are a few reports of kratom or its active chemicals being sold in herbal high blends, including under the name K2. Kratom is almost always taken orally and is rarely smoked. When taken as a tea, it's common to add flavoring agents like sugar or honey in order to hide kratom's bitter taste. Lemon juice is sometimes added, which may enhance the extraction of kratom's drugs. A light oral dose is 2 to 4 grams, a common dose is 3 to 5 grams, and a strong dose is 5 to 8 grams.
Okay, one thing I want to say right off the bat, Chanda, you shouldn't use honey with your kratom because it's plant-based. Why ruin it? Go
I
with
don't.
agave. Go with agave.
So go with agave, right? Right. When I first started kratom, I took it a few times, and I'd be taking my meds too. Like I'd be mixing them like, I'll just go back and forth. And I would take it like a tea. I would make it hot and I would boil it because that's how I thought, I was reading online, this is how you take it. And I would mix, honey and stuff in it. But I get a different effect when I drink kratom when it's hot versus when I just mix it a powder like that with some orange juice or some chocolate milk. It gives me more of a stimulant effect when it's warm, like a tea for some reason, like a coffee almost.
Yeah, I see a lot of people just mixing it with water.
Yeah, well, I've been there many times. You take it however you got to, but yeah, it's very, very terrible tasting. I call it pond water or swamp water.
Really that bad?
It's that bad. I mean, every day I have to torture myself with this, but it's the price I pay. But there was a few things in there I want to point out. So they were talking about the different types of kratom: white, green, red,
Yeah.
yellow. We have a saying in the kratom community: white for flight, red for bed, and green for in between. So that way, if I get up and I take a white kratom at say 10 o'clock at night, I am going to have the jitters. I'm going to feel like I drank a pot of coffee. I'm not going to be able to sleep all night. But if I take a red, which is relaxing to my body and sedating, I'll sleep really well. I sleep better on kratom than I have slept ever in my life. And for antidepressants too, I am more even keeled on kratom than I have ever been in my life. And I was a diagnosed bipolar manic depressive when I was 18. And
Yeah.
I had those violent up and downs, and life is amazing, and then life is crashing for all of my life. And I tried to quell that, I think, with the pill addiction, but I cannot believe. But so I hear that it works really well as an antidepressant. I don't know that. I know that it helped me, but that was a secondary thing for me.
It's funny because I was talking to a friend of mine today about this, and it's kind of very much similar to marijuana strains, where I'm an
Yeah,
indica guy, and that's more
exactly.
cerebral.
It
And
is.
I mean, excuse me, more body as opposed to sativas, which were more cerebral.
Yep.
And like there are different strains that they kind of list out, like, oh, this, Gorilla Glue is good for this or that.
Yep.
This OG Kush
I
is
can't
good
wait to
for.
do our medical. I know everything.
Oh yeah, I know you do. So I mean, and if anybody's wondering, I'm an OG Kush guy. Skywalker Kush is my favorite. I love the smell. I love the taste.
Yeah, you're an indica guy, aren't you?
So wait a second. It's white for flight, red for bed, and what's the other one?
Green for in between. And then now they've got all these other blends like yellow and pink. And, really what that is describing is the color of the vein that runs down the kratom leaf.
Got it. Understood.
And then you'll hear it. So like kratom names, when you go to buy kratom, it'll say yellow Bali MD, which is a yellow Bali Ming Da. That means that it's a yellow vein. It came from Bali, and it's in the Metida family. So we know that that's like an indica. That's like a kush. That
Yeah. Has anybody tried to make like kratom food? Like, like it's like a powdery form.
Oh yeah.
Like I can make pancakes with it, right?
Yeah.
Will it still have the same effect or?
Well, you'd have to eat 500 pancakes in order to get the effects from it, basically, is my understanding. But I have friends that make muffins and cookies and whatnot,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's my understanding you'd have to eat a lot, but it still tastes nasty. Doesn't matter what you put it in, I promise.
Got it.
Let's go ahead and watch this one.
Nice.
Oh, Oz, do you understand the cuts, or did we just watch this one?
No, we watched the other one.
I put the cut on the screen because these are over 18 and YouTube won't let us embed them. So the cut is just wrote on this slide.
Well, this is nice.
We have to change our settings.
Yeah. Thank you, YouTube. Or should
I know they're so.
Yeah, I can't even.
They gotta be idiots every step of the way.
Sorry, can't do this.
That's okay. We'll skip that one and we'll go to the map. Okay, so I have been in the fight to save kratom, keep kratom legal, since 2016. In 2016, the DEA decided that, well, we're going to schedule this, and we're going to give you, I don't even think they gave us a comment period. They dumped some pseudoscience on us, and addicts all over the country rallied back. We came together. We marched on Washington. We built lobbies. We got out there. We knocked on our elected officials' doors. We sat them down. I literally had my elected official come into my office when I was running the marijuana store and sit in the office. And he had to sign in because Washington State keeps a record of everybody who comes into the back of your store. And I talked to him for 2 hours about addiction and kratom because so many people were just starting to find kratom. Kratom really started to grow in America 2013 through 2016, right at the height of our epidemic, what we've been studying over the last 6 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And so right at that same time, there's a massive pushback from Big Pharma saying, "Oh fuck no, these guys can't find this because then they can't go on to the MAP programs. They, if they treat themselves, then we lose customers." And so we have fought battles from one state of this country to the other side. I have amazing friends that are Republicans. That's the one thing about this movement, the Kratom movement, is people will. I organize with people that worked for Ron Paul. I organize with the Republicans that want to sit down with their Republican elected officials, and it's really weird to see the sellouts across the country. There's those who genuinely want to help us keep it legal, and then there's those on both sides that want to fucking take it and give it to big pharma or the conservative right. They just want to crush it all together, right?
Yeah,
So,
no shit.
so these red
Yeah.
states, of course, are where they've completely crushed it.
Terrible.
And
Rhode Island. Hey, Bernie
Yes.
Sanders, how come Kratom is illegal? And what else?
I asked him that once, and of course, I never got a response. And my Kratom guy, actually, who I've been dealing with for 4 years, he left Vermont because of it, and he had lived there his whole life. He knew Bernie. I've met Bernie many times.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. It says the legal Kratom states that have passed the KCPA are in blue. The KCPA, what's that stand for one more time?
That is the Kratom Protection Act.
So what does that mean exactly?
The Kratom Protection Act is protecting Kratom users.
Yeah.
I think this was before we passed it. So some of these states don't have it yet. A lot of states don't have it yet, but there is states that this is the National Kratom Association. And anywhere that they see that they're potentially going to come for Kratom in that state, because this is a state by state fight, just like marijuana, right?
Yeah. I mean, I see there's a lot of green on this map.
There is, but
I
there's
mean,
a
this
lot
is going to
of
be
people in the
frightening once we
green.
get to the nationals part of the show.
Right.
I mean, wow, holy cow. So,
yeah. And you know what surprises me most is California and Colorado. These guys are the ones that prided themselves on passing marijuana all natural first, right?
Jesus. And Nevada?
They're so liberal. Yeah, right?
Nevada, I mean, Nevada's there and California's not. I mean, like it has, wow.
Oregon's actually got the Kratom Protection Act passed.
Nice.
And they're more protected than we are in Washington. I can tell you that. We do have some legislators in Washington that want to see it gone. And
are there any doctors that prescribe Kratom to their patients? Is that known?
No, but like I said, my one of my best friends is a clinician, and she's very open-minded. She's grilled me for days and hours when we travel together. We'll talk a whole flight about Kratom because she's so interested in alternatives to helping people than big pharma. I think a lot of doctors, they take the vow to do no harm, and they're waking up and they're seeing what they were trained clinically to do is hurting people, and they don't want to do that. And so though she can't legally recommend it, just like they couldn't marijuana, there's a lot of doctors that'll go, hey, if it helps you, take it, that's really the mentality I see with a lot of doctors. But there's a lot of doctors out there fighting on the front lines.
When my grandma was she had cancer and whatnot, and the pain and whatnot, the doctor whispered to my mom, take her out and get her high. Like that's gonna, she's in so much pain. There's not you. No, I mean, I give her all these opioids that she has a terrible reaction.
Yeah.
She takes the opioids. Her stomach gets all like, congested and she gets constipated and she's screaming stuff. Just get her high.
Yeah.
Get a little, smoke a little joint.
My dad died of lung cancer, and in his final days, he was in Salt Lake. And they had medical marijuana at the time, and he had smoked marijuana his whole life. I mean, the first time I ever saw a marijuana plant was probably from my dad. But he had to make a choice between having his pain relievers being his morphine, and they literally cut his back and pulled one of his lungs out under his shoulder blade. So you can have marijuana or you can have your opiate, but you can't have both. And so in his final days, he wasn't allowed to smoke marijuana anymore, which was horrible because I'd always known my dad to use marijuana for relief. And now he's in his dying days. He's in the most pain he's ever been in his life. And he can't have anything because the state of Utah wouldn't let him. And he asked me 24 hours before he passed away, maybe 48 hours, will you send me some edibles? Because Washington state had already legalized it. And, I said, okay, Dad, yeah, I'll go look. I'll go look, see what they have. And I didn't send him to him because I was scared that if I sent him through the mail, I would, be punished. I would go to jail. I was breaking federal law. And to this day, I feel guilty about that. Like, I let my dad suffer and pain when I could have just sent him something that would have made him
Yeah.
because of laws. Yeah. Right. So these are the states that it's illegal: Alabama, Arkansas, Indiana, Rhode Island, Vermont, Wisconsin. Let's see, Illinois, North Carolina, and New Hampshire have made kratom illegal for anyone under 18, with the exception of Jerseyville, where anyone it's illegal for. California allows the use of kratom in its entire state, except in San Diego. Hey, San Diego.
I was crazy. San Diego, no kratom.
Right.
Jesus Christ. You got all
Yeah.
these homeless people there in San Diego. They can't even take kratom.
Exactly. Denver, Colorado, kratom is proclaimed illegal for human consumption. Well, we all know
Crazy.
what that means, right?
Crazy.
Let's see. Florida banned the use of kratom only in Sarasota County. So it is banned in some parts of Florida, but not the whole state. Mississippi, only in Union County, banned the use. So one county. Tennessee it lifted a ban in 2017 and is legal to use for consumers under 21. Now, I know the lady who actually got that lifted in Tennessee. She fought her butt off. I mean, she lived on the steps of her elected representatives at the Capitol every week. Kelly Devine is her name, and boy, she was divine about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, New York as well. You're allowed to use kratom if you're over 21. All other states it's legal in for now. But that's just at the state level. No, we were fighting these fuckers on the Fed level forever.
Damn, surprised. And I mean, there's no federal studies on this that they go kind of like.
So we funded our own. 2016. The American Kratom Association came together with some scientists at Florida State University.
Yeah.
And they started studying it. And the studies have been amazing. They've really helped back up our fight from what I've seen. But then, of course, there's other universities out there doing their own counter studies and counteracting. You know how science is now. We talk about it every week, right?
Absolutely. Well, other than the stigma of it coming from gas stations and porn shops and stuff like that, who else is like speaking negatively from like a scientific point of view when it comes to kratom?
Okay, so this is and you can't see it, but I've got it. The next slide, we'll be able to read a little bit. This is a letter from the Congress of the United States to Loretta Lynch, who was the acting attorney general at the time. And this was September of 2016. So this was right around the tarmac incident, if you remember that.
Yeah. Hillary? No.
Yeah. So the Congress says, "Dear Attorney General Lynch, we are writing to object to the DEA's hasted decision to classify the drug known as kratom as a Scheduled 1 substance. In particularly, we are troubled by the DEA's irregular division from its classification procedure in order to list kratom as a Scheduled 1 substance. We call on you to stay the effective date of this proposed rule. In order to schedule a drug, the DEA must undertake a rulemaking process, which involves constitutions with the FDA, notice to the proposed rules to the Federal Registry, and an opportunity for public comment and hearing. Under the standard, DEA must consider 8 factors as a part of its analytics as listed in, U.S. section, blah, blah, blah. However, its decision to classify kratom as a Scheduled 1 substance, the DEA instead utilized a statutory authority to temporarily bypass the rulemaking process as well as the notice of public comment period. However, under U.S. blah, blah, a agency must postpone the effective date of its action when justice requires it. And a heat of the Department of Justice, which oversees the DEA, we ask you to stay this effective of this rule so that the appropriate notice and public comment period may take place." And that's what happened.
Got it.
they tried to go around it. And they tried to go around
Yeah.
the FDA. They tried to go around public comment and just say, "Oh no, we're just going to classify this. We've like, deemed it bad."
And that's like important. People don't realize, they just, oh, what is public comment? When you see people up there who give confessionals and stories of what it's done to you for them, that makes it very powerful, especially if it's the antidote right now. And we know about like, other treatments for drugs for viruses out there right now that have not been able to be talked
Right.
about.
Yes.
Same story over here, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm glad the kratom community caught them, because this seems like activists doing the work right here to get some results.
Oh, that was all activists. And yeah, you saw the picture of me earlier. So I the first time I ever organized an event, it wasn't for the progressives, it wasn't for Bernie, it was for kratom.
Can
And
we
it
go
was-
back to that picture real quick, Oz? If we go back a couple slides. There it is. Look at this. Come on, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, so there I am. I'm a Bernie delegate. That is at the state convention in 2016 for Bernie Sanders. And that same, like 3 months later, I hosted the first kratom rally in Washington State at the state capitol. And, I procured the permits and I did all of the organizing. And it was the first time that I actually led organizing. And it was awesome to do because it wasn't just progressives, right? It was every spectrum that was there. It's just everyday people fighting for something that is enhance their life and change their lives, right?
So awesome. Election integrity was kind of like, not like that, then like that, then not like that. You know what I'm saying? It was like mostly election integrity was like grassroots progressives, and it was all about like, what's going on? We couldn't believe what happened in the modern era. Look what they did to Bernie, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then 2020, all the progressives are gone. I'm like, where are you guys going? We got to march again. And it was all like,
we won again. We won. We're fine.
it's all, then it came all patriot Trumpers. They're like, hey, we're here for election integrity. I'm like, well, I ain't going nowhere until our elections are straight. So you might as well just take a seat, pal.
Right. It gives you a different perspective to work with both sides.
Yeah. But what's right is right. And I think that's awesome too, as well, because that when we get out of party politics, we become more human, you know what I'm saying? And it's just, we don't think about red or blue. We think about life and, and what can I do to help you? What can I do to make it better? How can we, I was just looking at like all the stuff you like a hashtag save kratom, you know what I'm saying? And I am kratom and say that's awesome. I am so happy you did that and stuff. Well, let's get back to the letter of 2018. So go ahead. I'm so sorry.
Okay. So what happened in 2016? Trump won, right?
Yeah.
So right around the same time that Trump wins, we win this against the DEA. So it kind of just falls by the wayside, right? It was a victory. They're going to leave us alone. Trump comes into office. We immediately had been all over the Republicans. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. And they didn't. They did not mess with us. At state levels, maybe some did, Florida, Georgia, wherever. But they left us alone federally. Trump did not mess with us at all. So fast forward, now we're at 2018, and this is the Health and Human Services. In a 2018 letter by the leader of the Health and Human Services, the FDA's parent agency, to the DEA, HHS withdrew its support for designating kratom alkaloids as a Scheduled 1 controlled substance. One reason was the insignificant evidence to meet its statutory conditions that kratom has a high potential for abuse. In order to meet that requirement, the FDA must have adequate information and to provide reasonable assurance that such new dietary ingredients does not present a significant or reasonable risk of injury or illness. So now the health department's saying, okay, leave them alone. So we've had Congress say leave them alone. We've had the health department say leave them alone.
Schedule 1. What is that?
I mean, Schedule 1's the highest you can go. That is like that that's where cocaine.
You got heroin and marijuana
acid,
on the same level.
Right. Of course, marijuana is there.
It's always political.
We're still rallying at this point. This was in 2018 because at that point, it was just before that letter. We were scared they were coming back at us again. So this is my second rally that I hosted at our state capitol for kratom. By then, I learned how to get banners done and set up booths. And so my organizing is progressing as I'm going through this battle.
The marketing is beautiful there. The kratom, the light, drinking the tea, very soothing. It saves lives. I want to go over and learn more if I see that. That is amazing. Chanda. That is amazing, amazing work. Congratulations. Look at that, guys. Woo!
Sadly, they're sitting in my shed. I need a reason to bust them out. Well, I really don't, but I have a reason. I have a feeling that reason's coming. So that
maybe
day,
maybe we gotta bring it back. Let's bring back the Kratom rally. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think we're gonna have to.
Yeah, we got to bring it back. Let's go. I'm there for you. I believe you. I have a lot of friends who take Kratom, and they just tell me it's amazing. It works for them.
Yeah, it really it is. So that day, while I'm hosting this rally, the health department at the time, HHS for Washington State, showed up. Yep. And there was this myth that was going across the country that people were dying of salmonella from tainted Kratom.
Oh,
and
my Lord.
This was perpetuated by those agencies. They, at the same time, there's a lot of stories out there of people ODing and dying on Kratom. Well, it would always turn out, if you went and you looked, there was always some secondary, comorbidity going on, or, they were mixing cocaine, acid, and Kratom. It's like saying somebody who smoked a joint and then took a kilo of Coke died of marijuana. And that's, we know that as the community that it's bullshit. So the health department's passing these out. You got poo. I was so shocked that they were there. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, what do you know about Kratom? I can tell you more about Kratom than you will ever know about Kratom working in the health department. And yeah, this was a scare tactic. And they never did actually track this down to a lot of Kratom, a shipment of Kratom. They've never proven that there was salmonella in any Kratom.
What political, well, I don't want to say political, what corporate forces wanted Kratom gone?
Okay, so what corporate forces want Kratom gone? Let me tell you who sits on the board of the National Kratom Association. Nancy Pelosi's son, Paul.
He's an energy guy.
Right. So what the hell is he doing well, he came from a pharmaceutical board. If you go look at his history, he sat on a shit ton of pharmaceutical boards too.
Wait a second. So you're telling me Paul Pelosi, who had an energy company inside of the Ukraine after the regime changed there, just like Hunter Biden, both of them had nothing to do with energy and oil? Okay.
Right.
Makes
right.
So he sits at the head of what board now again? Is
the American Kratom Association, the American Kratom Association. We have all of these lobbies that sprouted up for Kratom in the last 5 years. Some of them have nefarious intents, right? And some of them want to protect Kratom. Some of them want Kratom regulated, but in a way that they can profit from it, because it can only go through certain labs to be tested. It can only go through certain shipping ports and be handled in certain ways. So that's where he comes in, I'm pretty sure. But then there's others that just want to give it to Big Pharma, make it illegal for us. They'll isolate these alkaloids, they'll make it into a pill form, and they'll sell it back to us.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
So this, everything, we were going along fine with Trump, right? We had a few hiccups in 2018, but we got past the HHS.
Yep.
Now fast forward to just a month ago, and the ex-FDA head falsely claims that Kratom is fueling the overdose crisis. Scott Gottlieb, right? This piece of shit. We were prevented by HHS from moving forward with the scheduling of Kratom. I'm convinced it's fueling the opiate crisis. The Biden administration should follow through on its efforts of the FDA, the NIH, and the DEA, and the new ASH should affirm health findings on these agencies.
When is the date? Do you know the date of that tweet? Was that just recently? Obviously, because he's talking about the Biden administration, so it has to be within the last.
This was in the last 2 months.
No, it was. We just saw that. It was like
it was a huge pushback. It was like 6 weeks ago. Not even.
6 weeks ago. All right. So this is one of the red flags that are coming out where, when the Republicans are like, they're coming for your guns, and we're like, they're coming for your Kratom, and this was a sign right here, right? This guy
went off on him. I mean, I think there was tons of responses from Kratom users to him, like, you fucking idiot.
He's the ex-FDA head, or no?
Yes, and he's embroiled in so many different fucking bullshit things. Trying to think, what else was he involved
Everybody hit up Scott Gottlieb's Twitter. Let him know what a jerk off he is.
He is, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's a coincidence. At the same time that he's tweeting that out, the FDA announces a seizure in Florida of more than 270,000 units of kratom dietary supplements and ingredients. The FDA continues to warn customers not to use any product labeled as containing kratom.
So the FDA is, when was this by? Do we know? Or
this was 6 weeks ago, and
so this is it. It's on now.
It's on, and so they what they do is they shut down the shipments. They'll seize them right as they come into port, because this has to be bulk shipped by boat from Southeast Asia. So that's how it gets here. And as soon as it hits our ports, they just start seizing it left and right. So my kratom vendor, he's just a small guy. Platinumbotanicals.com or .org, I think you can go to both. He he does it out of his house. He'll order a couple of tons of it, and he bags, he has it all bagged up and labeled, and he sells it and ships it out. And so, but to get it, it's got to come through customs. So all these kratom vendors across the country will be just like, sorry, my shipment's been seized. I'm just stuck waiting, and they're out that money.
Yeah, that's Jesus. Gottlieb and others. What's their evidence or their go-to to kind of prove that kratom is leading to overdoses?
They had 16 different cases that they tried to highlight over the last few years of people across the country who've died, but with kratom in their system. And they're, like I said, there's one guy on that list of that 16 who committed suicide. It's kind of like what we saw before. It didn't matter what you died from. Everybody died from COVID, right?
Did he present statistics that say this many people had kratom in their system, or are they just going to these 16?
They're going to these 16 cases
because he's saying it's fueling overdose. That's
right.
Not fueling overdose. No. 16 cases.
One of these videos I brought that I can't play. I probably can't play it, but I love this quote from this guy, Chris Bell. And you might know who Chris Bell is. He's a UFC world wrestling, bodylifting champion. And he did a bunch of documentaries in the last 20 years about steroid use in UFC and stuff. Anyways, he just did a kratom documentary called A Leaf of Faith. And I think you can still find it on YouTube. I think you can find it on Netflix. But he says that kratom is not a drug that your kid is going to go seek out on the street to get high. Kratom is a drug that your kid is going to go seek out once he's already hit rock bottom and there's nothing else for him. It's just not a drug that you seek out to get high. It's medicine. And I can't agree more.
Where do we look to, say, the average day Google searchers to get that information? I mean, obviously you've been pushing for kratom for a long time, but how do we convince people that, okay, it's not a gas station drug? People aren't going to seek it out to get high. I heard that judge say in Georgia. Where do we show people and lead them the way to say, no, this is actually helping the situation, not hurting it?
Kratom testimonies. There's so many out there. That's really, I go to the people. I've always gone to the streets when I want the answer for something. And there's so many amazing testimonies out there of how kratom saved somebody's life. And that's what I depended on. But, as far as trying to wake people up to it, like this judge, it's like me talking to my elected representative. All I could do was show him the person I used to be and who I was now. And the only changing factor was kratom. That's really what I try to push.
I put on kratom confessions real quick. Let's see what comes up. That's on DuckDuckGo, by the way.
Yeah, don't go. I mean, Google, you'll find kratom stuff, but you'll get a bunch of propaganda in there too. But YouTube, there's quite a few testimonials on YouTube. But we are being blocked and we are being censored and demonetized, and we're being screwed with just as bad in the kratom community as we are in the progressive independent media.
I got to go into this and take a look and see what's going on, because it looks like they're also putting up some bullshit too as well. Like, right. You see how to make kratom feel like hydroxychloroquine, confessions of. So we're good, Oz. We can get a little extra minutes here.
Okay, so I just want to report this. The CDC says drug overdoses hit record 93,000 or 93K in 2020. So that's up. Remember we were talking about that at one of our other shows. Yeah. And so we haven't seen, 2020, that's almost 100,000 people in 1 year from
we said this today. We so far, like in 2019, they got it around 70,000, a little bit over 70,000. 2020, forget about it. It's going to be off the charts. It will be close to 100,000. And you can bet that 93,000, 94,000 is a low number, especially with everybody being home going cray.
Well, so that makes it since 1999 that almost 1 million fucking people have died from overdoses. 900,000 people have died since 99.
Yeah. We have a long battle ahead of us too, because people still think that most of the drug usage is recreational, or it started recreational.
Right.
I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not always that way. And then we've shown the way it's not recreational. It's here, this will help you get through work. And the next thing you know, yeah.
Right.
What's these next pictures here?
This is more me rallying. Just, fighting back.
Keep Kratom legal. Yeah. I am Kratom. And that's
these are some of our hashtags.
You better bust that sign out.
Oh, I do bust those. I have a bunch of those signs.
We got to dust that out. Let's get going with that one.
This next video, I don't think you're going to be allowed to play us because it's 18. You're going to have to.
No, it won't let me. I already tried it.
It won't let you play?
Nope, not with some configurations. So.
All right. It's okay.
Yeah, we'd have to change the setting on the show is what it was. I should have warned Oz before the show. So these are some of the things you can do. You can sign up to receive Kratom text alerts. Just text Kratom to 844-983-1703. Are you on fire?
I think they were just testing the alarm, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Or the building's not falling on you. Please tell me you're not in a high-rise building in Florida.
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm okay.
That's crazy. Yeah. So the FDA wants to cut off all of our communication channels, and we have to act now to prevent them from achieving that. Trust me, it's critical for us to develop the new communication channels. The FDA is going to keep up the pressure on social media companies to ban all pro-Kratom discussions. And we're seeing this across Facebook. We used to have multiple Facebook groups for Kratom, and just like
they're taking them down.
We're being taken down. We're blocked. Our posts are shadow banned. Misinformation.
I would figure they'd hit to Google too. And like I said, I just went on to even DuckDuckGo. You know what I'm saying? And
maybe you better see what's going on.
I don't know if I should get the hell out of the building right now.
Well, why don't we wrap this show up so you can, run for your
life?
life?
Something's going on, ladies and gentlemen. I am so sorry. I'm gonna. It's been a
no. We want you to go
everybody.
Get out of the building, Pasta. You just get up and go. I will close the show.
The deep state is messing with us. I gotta get out of here, guys. I'll text everybody on Twitter and let you know that I'm good. I love you guys. Bye.
Bye. Oz, you can just go to our closing song, and thank you guys so much for joining us. We will stay tuned to see if Pasta escapes alive, right? And thanks for joining us. Oh, I want to tell you guys first before you go. We have a new email address if you want to share your stories. So many of you guys are reaching out to us with your stories and input and topic, ideas. Contact us at tohellandbackoutreach@gmail.com. If you want to send us your stories, we'd love to hear from you. And I know that was an abrupt show end, but that was kind of scary. I mean, it was time for him to move.
Yeah, that's all right. I was worried that they were going to have half the building fall down. He's in Florida, right?
I know, right? Chanda stayed.
Chanda stayed. Hold up the building. Yeah. Do you want to shout out the chat since we're all here?
Yeah, let me shout out the chat since I'm here. Let me see. How you guys hanging out over in the rock there? I see somebody gave us a ray. Will M, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys joining us during these important conversations. Yeah, DuckDuckGo. I agree. Totally DuckDuckGo. So who's over here on YouTube? Hey, Gamer. Thanks for joining us. Julie, you guys made it over.
Brother Steve.
Brother Steve.
Yeah.
PBNY.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tina Shanahan.
Yeah.
Steve Cutler. Who else is in here?
Jim.
Anthony. Hey, Anthony.
Anthony. Yeah. PBNY. Chanda stay. PB. What was you say? Yeah. Gee whiz, gamers.
Well, sorry if I missed you guys, but we appreciate you guys. We know Combo was live when we went live.
Yeah.
He had some important things to say. So.
Oh yeah, she sure did. So so what's coming up? We don't have anything tomorrow, right?
Yeah, but I get to write Beauty and the Boomer tomorrow, so no rest for the wicked.
Yeah, Beauty and the Boomer is going to be fun, everybody. So please join us Saturday evening, 7 Pacific, for Beauty and the Boomer. So anyway, what are we going out with here?
This is a great song. So this guy Jordan Richards, he says, I wrote this song because of a plant called kratom changed my life. I have always struggled with addiction, but this plant gave my life back. It gave me new hope. That is why I became a vendor and created New Hope Botanicals. Now I am able to give others new hope as well. But he does a really good job with this song.
Yay.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry for the abrupt end, but you know, when you're on the road, stuff happens.
It definitely does. Thank you,
Hopefully,
Chanda.
Mikasa Sukasa Studios are okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Chanda. See you tomorrow.
I'ma spit a little story, I'ma keep it brief. My life is so insane, but it changed with just a leaf. It made me feel complete. I never thought I would. Used to be that person that's rehearsing to pretend he's good. I felt misunderstood. To feel good, I will pop pills. I'm not fronting. Popping 20 Norcos, that was nothing. Took too many, it was plenty. Couldn't handle it. Mama, she was crushed when I was rushed away by ambulance. Feeling so pathetic, man. I can barely stand it all. Surrounded by paramedics, so I told them about the tramadol. How many I took. Their looks were so embarrassing.
But I had to go, my liver burning like some kerosene. Right now, God, I'm thankful for kratom. So happy that you made it. Tell you right now, never back down. Let's just band together and let nobody take it. Right now, God, I'm thankful for kratom. So happy that you made it. Tell you right now, never back down. Let's just band together and let nobody take it.
See, the worst thing is when people try to come in and take away your freedom. Just because they're not profiting from something, they'd rather you be sick than healthy. They'd rather be wealthy than you be well.
See, I don't know where I'd be without this plans. It's not a facade, changed who I am. Used to be an addict, nowadays I am a man. I don't think you understand, I don't think you understand.
Yo, life as an addict, it was so over dramatic. Act sporadic, get pissed, and then you flip like some acrobatics. Listen to me, I would never steer you wrong. We should chant about the plan that helps us all just get along. I love the volley, makes me jolly, filled with happiness. I'm the guy who loves a tie, sprinkle with some capitalist. I think it's also main delicious. Every day the FDA lies and tries to make it look so vicious. I wonder why, rather have it sick than healthy. Long as their pockets are wealthy, driving in the Bentley, they prevent me from living free. Actually, it's just a tea, lets you live so happily.
But they ain't getting paid cause it ain't man-made. Right now, God, I'm thankful for kratom. So happy that you made it. Tell you right now, never back down. Let's just band together and let nobody take it. Right now, God, I'm thankful for kratom. So happy that you made it. Tell you right now, never back down. Let's just band together and let nobody take it.